Welcome back to my channel, my friends. Okay, so I basically had a prediction of 2020, how 2020 was gonna go at the start of the year. I was so hyped for it. I had big plans for 2020, you know? 2020. It's hard to think of how I could have been more wrong. But it is what it is. This is the situation we're in. It's a weird freaking time. I don't think any of us have ever experienced anything like it. I kind of wanted to make this video to share how I'm staying healthy at home and also some of the biggest tips I have for staying healthy at home. So I first want to talk about my approach, so how I'm training, what I'm eating, and then I also want to talk about more general ideas that I think can really help us through quarantine period. I actually had a call from Apple Music. They wanted to interview me on my 3 top tips on how to stay healthy at home. And it was super cash, you know, like Rebecca Judd, the host, she was so nice, so energetic, just really like relaxed. Meanwhile, I was literally trembling on the phone. I had to put the phone down at one point and put it on speaker because my hands were so sweaty. It was just like slipping out of my hands like a slinky. So yeah, I'm really nervous to hear what that sounds like. But it was just really nice and it was really helpful to talk about the things that we can be doing to stay healthier at home. My approach might be completely different to your approach, and that doesn't make either of them wrong. It's just that we all deal with things differently. And maybe by sharing those ideas, it might help you find your way of coping with this situation in a way that's perfect for you. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about in this video. If you like it, make sure to give me a big thumbs up, hit the subscribe button with the little notification bell to join our amazing family, and we'll just get straight into it. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is my training. I know that I uploaded my weekly workout routine maybe like 5 weeks ago. We can just forget about that video, you know? You guys know my routine is usually really relaxed, but now it's like, I can't explain to you just how relaxed it is. It's in Hawaii, sipping on some pina colada, chatting up some hot, bronzed guy. You know, like that's how relaxed it is. I don't really have a routine. I'm not really putting any pressure on myself to stick to a routine or to have a schedule. I usually see exercise as a way to get better as an athlete or to improve my performance. But right now I'm just seeing it as a place for me to just feel better physically and mentally. So for me, if something doesn't feel good, then I'm just not gonna do it. Like my priority is that whatever session I've chosen to do is something that I really wanna do. So with that in mind, like no 2 weeks are gonna be the same. I'm just gonna do whatever makes me feel good. But I thought I would show you what the last 2 weeks of lockdown have looked like, so you guys have more of like a picture. But that doesn't mean that this is any kind of routine. This is literally just what I've been up to. Just running. So at the moment, every 3 or 4 days, I might go for a run, and that can really vary in time. Like sometimes it's 15 minutes, sometimes it's 45. Some days I'm feeling like really quick and I'm like, where has this energy come from? I don't understand it, but I'm just gonna go with it, you know? And then other days I just want to take it super chill. There's no real like goal out of these runs. It's just, I'm just doing it because I enjoy it, and we're allowed to go out once a day for a form of exercise, so that's what I do. I also get in around like 1 to 2 glute/leg days. I miss my resistance training, if I'm honest. Like that's the kind of training that I'm used to. I like training with weights, so I kind of try and add that resistance into my home sessions as well. I've actually been able to hip thrust Mario. Sounds sexual, but it's not, and it's quite effective. And that's why I have a boyfriend. So I'll mix some resistance training with some plyometrics and some single leg work as well, and just train my legs that way. And I've also been doing around like 1 to 2 full body sessions that include upper body per week. Very similar to what I've posted on my Instagram. Now I do want to say with the Instagram posts, sometimes I do the workouts. Sometimes I'm filming them intentionally for Instagram, but I'm not actually doing the workout. And the reason is because I want health and fitness to be as accessible to everyone as possible. I know that some people aren't going to buy my programs. I know that some people don't have any equipment. And so I want there to be a bank of workouts that they can count on that have no equipment, no space, no noise, whatever it is. I don't want anyone to feel lost or they're not able to exercise because they don't have a certain amount of equipment. Like, I want exercise to be accessible for everyone. I've always wanted that since I started my channel. So I just kind of wanted to say that because I also don't want to give the impression that I'm literally doing all of these training sessions all the time. The other day we tried doing a yoga flow, which was really fun. And then we also have tried doing some handstand practice. I'd say on average, I'm probably exercising around like 3 hours a week. Usually I'm exercising around 4 to 5 when we're not in lockdown. So yeah, I've probably decreased my training a little bit, but the key word of the day, the training word of the day is just chill. Chill. It's just chill. Okay, so let's talk about my diet and nutrition, because I've spoken about on my channel so many times before that I've been eating intuitively now for maybe like 2 years. I don't really use the term intuitive eating myself. I just use it to help people identify what it is that I do. There's so many labels now that it's just kind of a way to describe just eating, like simply just eating, listening to my hunger cues and being able to listen to my hunger cues because I'm biochemically regulated. So eating when you're hungry, stopping when you're full. Not relying on any external cues, whether that's counting your calories or your macros. It's very much like instinctive behavior. Similar to when you feel tired, you'll go to sleep. Like it's just like that, but around food. So I don't really have like a strategic approach to food. I don't even really think about food. My diet is very, very inclusive. There's nothing really that's off limits. I don't really have any rules about the types of foods, but also times to eat, etc. None of that. I literally just listen to my body, and I know that my body feels good when it predominantly eats foods that are more nutritious. That doesn't mean that I don't eat foods that aren't nutritious, because they taste freaking amazing, but I just have those less, and that's how my body feels really good. And I think intuitive eating is best seen over the course of a week or a month. Our energy output changes all the time, maybe because of activity levels, our hormones, where we are within our menstrual cycle. There's so many factors that change our energy output every day, and that means that my hunger signals are also going to change every day. So going into lockdown, I'm just going to continue eating intuitively. I'm going to continue listening to my hunger cues, and that might change because my lifestyle's different, but I'm not intentionally changing anything about my approach. As usual, that means I'm not going to have any rules around who, what, when, where I can eat my cinnamon pretzels, you know? If I want my cinnamon pretzels by Mrs. Pretzels herself at 2 a.m, I'm going to go for it. It might just be that I didn't eat enough that day, and so I'm receiving some hunger cues from the good old hypothalamus up here. So over the last 2 weeks, I think that's how long we've been stuck at home for. Although it kind of feels like 2 decades, but over the last 2 weeks, I haven't really changed anything. I haven't really noticed any changes in hunger cues, to be honest. I'm definitely not going to be lowering my intake intentionally. Like if that happens a little bit, then it's probably because I'm just moving less, but I don't expect it to be dropping that much anyway, not more than like a couple hundred calories. I know the nutrition science, so I'm not really that worried. I'm just trying to stay like stress-free. I'm not really like worrying too much about it. So that's kind of what I'm doing at the moment to kind of stay healthy in terms of my training and nutrition. But now I want to talk about 3 things that I think are really important for all of us to remember. And then I want to finish off by giving you 3 ideas that might help you. First 3 things I want to talk about are the really important ones that I think all of us should just remember during this time. And they are myonuclei, metabolism, and sleep. And each of those, like I've made dedicated science explained videos about them because they deserve it. But I just want to quickly touch on them because I think it can be really important in this time, and it just gives it a little bit more context. So the first thing I want to talk about is myonuclei, and the reason I want to address this is because one of the number 1 questions I'm getting at the moment is, will I lose the muscle that I've built in the gym? And actually it's a really technical question. It's a technical answer to give because it depends on so many factors. How experienced you are at lifting, how much muscle you originally built, what your genetics are like, your age, gender, what type of training were you doing before? Was it just hypertrophy? Was it strength? Was it powerlifting? What kind of training are you doing now in quarantine? What is your execution of those exercises? Are you doing it perfectly? There's so many variables. It's a really, really difficult one to answer. And I think, to be honest, like if you're an experienced lifter and you've been building muscle over a really, really long period of time and you're not able to train exactly like how you were for a long period of time, like over months, then you're probably going to lose a little bit of muscle. That's just the truth. But what we do have is myonuclei. and increased amounts of myonuclei if we've been training. And this doesn't go away for up to 15 years. 15 years. Which is amazing because that is essentially what defines our muscle memory. So by having increased amounts of myonuclei is the nucleus of a muscle cell, it's almost like your muscle remembers that previously developed state. That increased amount of myonuclei will help you once you get back into the gym to regain that strength and regain that muscle quicker than it took you to build the first time. Your muscles have better memory than me. And they definitely have better memory than Mario. Mario forgets things from like literally yesterday. So the second thing I want to talk about is metabolism. And one thing we definitely don't want to do is to speed up or cause any muscle loss through undereating, because that would lower our metabolism. Our muscle tissue is highly metabolically active, which means that it needs a lot of energy just to maintain, and it allows us to put out lots of energy when we do exercise. So it's really, really important for our metabolism. It keeps it nice and high and fired up. But one of the things that I see that gets missed all the time by places like F45 or places that don't understand the science is that calorie expenditure, which is just the amount of calories that we burn, is not an independent variable. It's a function of a whole bunch of things, including our past energy balance and our eating behaviors. Now, our bodies are really complicated. Like, even with a biochemistry degree, like it lays out the foundations of how complicated everything is. You just barely scratch the surface. That's what the PhDs are for. They scratch beneath the surface. It's hard to explain how interconnected everything is, and I think this is a topic that gets oversimplified, so we actually end up missing a lot of what actually happens. If we create too much of an energy deficit too quickly or too drastically, then our bodies will try and put us back into energy balance. There's like a cascade of reactions that happens and mechanisms that occur to put your body back into energy balance. So you might think that you've put yourself in a calorie deficit, but your body has so many mechanisms to lower your calorie expenditure so that actually you're no longer in a 500 calorie deficit. So because of that, I think in this time, it's important not to be too drastic in decisions that we make around our diet. Even though you might not be training the same as you have in the past, don't do anything too drastic to your diet, because we don't want to set off any unintentional changes to your metabolism. So if you guys are interested in metabolism, I've got a whole video all about it. The third one I want to talk, is that 3? I need to keep looking at my fingers to make sure I've got the right amount of fingers up. Okay, the third one I want to talk about is sleep, because sleep is, it's the golden child. It's so important. I can't oversell how important sleep is. I might even come out with a sleep guide. I'll call it sleep. It affects so many things in our lives. It's important for our whole hormone profile. It will affect how hungry you feel. It will affect how satisfied you feel after a meal. It will affect your fat storage, as well as your mental well-being. So if we're sleep deprived, it's linked to anxiety, depression. So making sure that we have a really good night's sleep is really important for our health, and it means that we'll be better able to cope with this weird situation that's going on. I already know that if I don't sleep, I can't even function with like the most basic tasks. Like if the toaster doesn't work and I haven't slept, I can't deal with it. This is coming from a girl who's literally just binge watched Westworld, which for a brief moment made me forget to sleep, but now I'm back on sleep track. But now I'm going to share the ideas that I spoke about with Apple that might help you find a way of staying healthy in your own way at home. So the first thing I want to talk about is taking the pressure off. This is literally such a weird experience. It's a once in a multi-generation experience. Like, this is a really strange time. Like, we all feel really weird. And so acknowledging that and knowing that is one of the first steps that I think is really important. And so don't make yourself feel guilty if you can't stick to this perception of what health and fitness should look like. For me, the most important thing is just doing small things little and often, getting up and dancing when I hear a good song, just doing random weird shit when I feel like it, like just moving. Movement is the most important thing. So the second thing I want to talk about is going for exercise that you actually enjoy. Like, it's the best feeling when there's something that you can look forward to, that you find really fun. Right now, I think exercise is more than just exercise. Like, it's a chance to break up your day, it's a chance to look forward to something. And so it can be anything. I think all movement is good movement. Like, me and Mario wrestled yesterday. don't ask any more questions, but we did, and it was fun, and it was just really freaking random. I've been doing my stretches in front of Westworld. It's a nice way to, you know, multitask. And yeah, I just think whatever it is, movement is good. So just do something that is really enjoyable. Like, don't worry about it having like a particular purpose. And the last thing I wanted to mention was, if you're struggling to start, then start with something that seems so small that it's too easy. Like, if I told you to do 5 squats whilst you were just brushing your teeth, you'd be like, I'm a savage, yeah. Classy, bougie, hold my toothbrush, you know? So it's gotta be that easy, because I definitely feel like starting with exercise is the hardest part. It's always been the hardest part. I find it the hardest part, but eventually it snowballs and it becomes easier and easier. But if you're jumping to that end goal where the whole snowman is like 8 foot tall, then it's just gonna feel too big. So start off with the snowflake. So that's kind of everything I wanted to cover. I do just want to say that it's a really weird time. Like, there's no right way of how we should be feeling. So don't be too hard on yourself. Use exercise as a form of enjoyment, if anything. So if you like it, give me a big thumbs up, hit the subscribe button with the little notification bell as well, and I'll see you very soon. Love ya. Bye.